All right, what's good, YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and we're back with the Wave Report number 10. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few fights that are coming up this weekend. The return of Guillermo Rigondeaux. Now, I don't think this one is going to be televised because I couldn't find it anywhere, but he is going to be making his return. I know he's older now, and he's coming back from having his face burned. So I haven't been paying attention to him since I seen him against John Rio Casimiro. I actually haven't seen him fight since then. But he will be making his return this weekend, and he will be fighting on Friday. All right. Just for you, big. I know there's a lot of Guillermo Rigondeaux fans that support the channel, at least older subscribers of the channel, because I used to make videos about him a lot, and he used to, make. I used to get a lot of views from making videos of him back in the past. But that is going to be on Friday night, right? Don't know where to watch it, don't know how to watch it, but he will be making his return Friday night. On Saturday on Showtime, all right? And I will probably cover this fight live. We have Sabril Matias is going to be fighting Harold Myers Ponce for the IBF vacant title at 140. This is one of the titles that was held by Josh Taylor that was vacated. Okay, he's only holding one title now, and right now they're setting up a fight between him and Teofimo Lopez. I'll talk more about that later. But Matias against Ponce is going down, and it's a good fight. Don't know if I'm gonna do an actual breakdown. If I do, or prediction, it'll probably be later in the week, maybe a day or two before the fight. But I'm actually leaning towards Matias to win the fight. But I think Ponce, I did get a little bit of time to look at Ponce and check him out because I've never seen him before. And he's a pretty good opponent. He's definitely a formidable opponent. I just don't think he's been in there tougher than Matias. All right, but Ponce is definitely legit. He's definitely gonna let his hands go. He does have solid boxing ability and solid power. He's a good boxer, but he has solid power, and he's definitely gonna bang on him. And I think it's definitely gonna be a really, really good fight. Matias, one of the better, Puerto Rican pressure fighters coming forward. Just the volume, the power, the pressure is usually too much. He stopped every single opponent he's faced, even the one Ananya, and the one guy that he lost to, he was able to avenge that loss and then come back and win by stoppage. So that fight should be a really, really good fight. I don't know what fights are gonna be shown on the undercard, okay? But Elvis Rodriguez, all right, who used to be with Top Rank, the other young up and coming Puerto Rican fighter, he's going to be making his return against Joseph Adorno, which is a very, very good fight because Joseph Adorno is definitely proven. He's definitely been in there with some good fighters. His fight is going to be at 140 as well, and it's going to be on the undercard. Now, I know that Adam Konoski is going to be on the undercard as well. I know Jamal James is going to have a fight on the undercard too. So I really don't know which fights they're going to televise. I'm sure they're going to televise the Elvis Rodriguez fight, but I don't know what else is going to be there. I don't even know who Konoski is facing. It's going to be a tune-up because they don't even have his opponent available on BoxRec. All right, but I will probably be covering this fight live because it's a good fight. It's a good, decent card, and I'm sure there's not going to be a lot of channels that's probably going to be doing live commentary. So I'm going to try to jump on. I thought Jake Paul and Tommy Fury were supposed to fight this Saturday evening, but they're doing Sunday. And I think Jake Paul normally does the Sundays for his boxing matches. Now, if it was Saturday night, I would have definitely covered a fight because I definitely am intrigued by this fight between him and Tommy Fury. But the fight is going to be on Sunday night, ESPN pay per view. And I'm not going to be able to cover, I'm not going to be available on Sunday. If it was Friday night or Saturday night, I would have definitely had you guys. But I'm not going to be doing live commentary for Jake Paul and Tommy Fury on Sunday, unfortunately. All right, but just my picks. I'm leaning towards Sabril Matias to win. And I'm leaning towards him winning straight up. I'm not sure because I didn't do any breakdown, like any real like film study, not enough film study on Ponce. So I will try to, before the end of the week, I will try to give you an actual prediction. But I'm leaning towards Matias to win this one. Um, and as far as Jake Paul and Tommy Fury, I'm leaning towards Jake Paul to win the fight. I don't know if he's going to win by knockout, but I'm just not, I know Tommy Fury is a real boxer, but, I don't really see him as being any more difficult than Anderson Silva, in my opinion. I'm not really that impressed with him. And even though I don't think Jake Paul or either one of these guys are like world level type of fighters or anything like that, I do think Jake Paul, out of the entertainers, the YouTubers or whatever, guys that are not like real boxers or whatever. I think he's the best one out of those guys. I guess those group of guys. And I think Tommy Fury is just a very, very, very extremely average boxer, And I think Jake Paul is probably gonna pull it off, but Tommy Fury, you can make an argument that he may be the best boxer he's faced, but I personally don't think so. Well, I don't know. I don't like the I don't dig too deep into this fight because a lot of people feel like these fights are fixed and they don't really believe in the fights. So I don't really know how people feel, but let me just say this. When it comes to Carl Froch, because I've seen, Carl Froch, he's called out Carl Froch and said he's willing to take the fight. And Carl Froch already responded saying, like, we'll see what you do with Jake, Tommy Fury and all that. And he came back and responded and said, like, listen, I'm a 4-time champion, like, I'm all of this and that. I don't know how long it's been since Carl Froch has fought. I know the George Groves fight was his last fight. I don't know how many years ago. I'm assuming that was maybe around 2015, 2016. It's been some time. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's going to be in a Hall of Fame in a few months. He's getting inducted. I personally don't want to. You guys know, if you guys been around, you know how I feel about these fights and legends coming back. Look, I seen Derek Chisora. Derek say he's gonna put up 200 pounds or something, 200,000 pounds, and that Carl Froch loses the fight. I don't like these fights because Carl Froch hasn't been in the ring, and we know that Carl Froch is way better than Jake Paul. But this is the thing. And the reason why I think Jake Paul would have a chance now is just because Carl Froch has not been in the ring for years. He's much smaller than Jake Paul, and I just think that I don't know if he's much smaller than him, but I know he's smaller than him, because Carl Froch was fighting at super middleweight, where Jake Paul is fighting he's pretty much a cruiserweight. And he walks around heavier than that. So being that the guy Jake Paul is active, and yes, he's not on a level of Carl Froch. I don't know where Carl Froch is right now. I don't know where he's at right now. So with that being said, Jake Paul is specifically targeting people that are not maybe active boxers or UFC fighters or just not world level fighters, or former world level fighters. But there's a reason why, like, his brother went into a Floyd Mayweather fight and the fight was actually competitive. You know what I'm saying? Because they're picking the times. They're cherry picking. It's like the YouTubers are cherry picking the professionals at this point, and they're getting recognition and making a lot of money off beating former champions, older guys, or guys that's not really involved and fully involved and invested in the sport. So for Carl Froch, leave that alone. And I know there's a lot of people that's saying that they're crazy or Carl Froch will destroy him. Yes, Carl Froch, when he was boxing, yes. When he was active, yes. Or maybe shortly after being active, yes. But at this point, I'm not saying he would lose, but I'm saying his chances of losing is high based on the timing of it. You haven't fought years, you're going to come back and fight a guy that's actively fighting. He's solid. He's a solid boxer for the YouTubers. He's solid at the end of the day. So I don't know. I just think he should leave it alone. I don't think it's worth your legacy going out the way you did. You went out selling 80,000 tickets out in Wembley, and giving us, you had an incredible career. I did a tribute to him based on his Hall of Fame induction maybe a few months ago. I mean, he's like my favorite. He's one of my favorite British fighters. Like, he's like one of my top 3 British fighters ever, after Lennox Lewis or I forgot who I named what order. But anyway, he's up there, and for him to come back and take this fight, if he wants the money that bad, then do it. But if it's not really, I don't think it's worth your legacy to do it. So it really depends on when he wants to. If he wants to get the bag, then get the bag and do it. They're willing to pay him a lot of money to come back and fight, and at that point, if you're going to do an exhibition, Try to get Joe Calzaghe to come back, and you and Carl Froch, I see Carl Froch and Joe Calzaghe having an exhibition over, this kind of fight. You know what I'm saying? I just think he's above, and I feel that about Floyd. I feel like they're just above these kind of fights. Now Floyd has been doing them, and he's doing another one soon, and I think he's doing another one in the UK. I don't know against who. I don't follow these fights like that. For most of them, I don't follow, but I think some of the exhibitions between the legends is pretty cool sometimes, but I don't know, man. It's whatever. Exhibitions has always been a thing. I'm not crazy about them, but some of them are pretty good. But Carl Froch against Jake Paul, I don't know. It might be good. I mean, if it happens, I'll definitely tune in. But for Froch, I don't think it's worth it. I think he's just above that. And Jake Paul is just taking advantage of the opportunities. And picking up on wins against legendary fighters when they're far, 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 way far past their prime. Fury, I don't really care for Fury because Fury is just running off of Tyson's name. Tommy Fury is really not that good. I've never seen a fight where I was impressed by him. All right, so let's move forward. I didn't do a recap of the Havanesian fight against Nery. I was completely wrong on this one. I know sometimes I tell you what I gamble, I tell you what I bet, what place bets I place, but I also tell you exactly who I think is going to win. Actual prediction. And this one I was wrong. I actually thought Havanesian was going to. I predicted him to win. I didn't just put money on the underdog, but I thought he was going to win the fight. I just thought that his pressure long term was going to be over. He was going to be able to overcome Nery and outwork him, and it started to look like that the last few rounds before the fight ended. But Nery put way too much punishment on Havanesian since the opening round, and I went back because I didn't watch the entire fight. I was watching the NBA dunk contest and all that stuff, so I was able to go back and watch the first couple of rounds, and I think Louis Nery was just landing bigger shots. There were periods where Nery started to slow down. Havanesian used to started taking advantage of that, but Havenisha just took too much damage early, and it showed later in the fight. And he was just taking too many punches, and Nery stopped him late. And this was a WBC eliminator, so basically, Stephen Fulton is currently holding the WBC champ. And if the winner of Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue is going to be the WBC champ, and this guy Nery is going to be the uh, the mandatory. Now if Fulton obviously wins, he's still going to be the champion. But I'm expecting him to move up. I think he's staying down there because of the opportunity to fight Inoue. He's been confident in fighting Inoue and been wanting to fight him for the past couple of years. We've heard him in interviews, and they're going to have their fight in Japan, which is great. So it's a great opportunity for both fighters because it gives the opportunity Inoue, who also wanted this fight, who also been calling. They both, to me, in my opinion, are their best opponents to date. Both of them. So um I say like if Nery is I think Nery loses to either fighter. If Fulton wins and beats Inoue and he happens to stay at 122, I think Nery loses to Fulton. And I also think that if Inoue wins, and even though I wanted the Nery at one point, like 4 years ago, I wanted the Nery fight against Inoue when they were both down at 118 undefeated, stuff like that, before the unifications and all that stuff. I really wanted to see that fight between Nery and Inoue, but over the years, it seemed like Inoue just kept improving, and Nery, missing weight at 118, having common opponents at 118, and then eventually moving up to 122 and not looking as much impressive as Inoue. I think Inoue would stop him if they were to fight each other. But Nery, when I was watching it, something about his Philly shell is just not good. Like he's trying to roll the punches, but he's not really rolling with the punches well. You know what I'm saying? I think he just does it for the look, and doesn't do it correctly. It's just way too easy to hit, and he needs to improve on his defense. But he did fight a good fight, and it was a very good fight. Some people are saying that it's fight of the year. I don't particularly feel that was fight of the year. Like I personally enjoyed the Lee Wood Mauricio Lara fight more because even though this was a war and these guys were punching each other face in the face for 11 round straight or however long the fight went, I prefer to have some kind of defense, some kind of boxing ability, and it's just like a rock'em sock'em robots, not really like my type of fight. Like it's entertaining to see a war, but when guys just don't use any defense at all and they're just punching each other in the face, and every punch you throw, it's like a Rocky movie. I was watching Rocky 3 last night. They were showing, they show the Rocky movies like every week, and I was watching the marathon, and you start watching, you watch Rocky 3, and then Rocky 4 comes on, and then Rocky 5 comes on, then Balboa comes on, and I'm like stuck here, I'm doing other stuff, I'm working, and then it's on TV, and it's like you get stuck and you get trapped in watching the movies. But when I watch the Havanesian fight with Nery, that's what I'm looking at it as. It's like two guys is just punching each other in the face. Yes, it's good for a war, but I think I've seen better fights this year than that fight. Like I think that might be a top 5 fight, but I would probably put that like at number 5. I just enjoyed the other fights that I've seen this year over that fight specifically. Just for me, that's just the way I look at it. All right. So look, I'm gonna be doing 2 wave reports because there's some older news I gotta cover, and then there's some newer news that I need to cover too. And since I haven't been as active since I got back from my trip, um, I'm gonna I'm gonna just cover some of the most recent news, like, and then some of the older news, and then some of the recent news. Um, so let's go over some of the stuff here. Michel Rivera lost to Frank Martin. All right, but he tested positive for hydrochlorothiazide, and Tereni. I might be saying it wrong. Sorry if I'm butchering it. But I did look it up. And these are basically drugs that help you get rid of water, and it helps with your urine and stuff like that. So it's basically weight cut PEDs. And he tested positive for them, and he's on a temporary suspension. All right. I don't know if this is going to cause him any fight time, any real fight time, maybe a couple fees. I don't know what's going to happen out of this, but this test is coming way after the Frank Martin loss, right? Which happens sometimes. So he tested positive. And the way I look at it is like this. It's still an advantage. It might not be a big deal. Yes, it's a weight cutting drug and everything like that, but it still plays an advantage because all fighters have issues cutting weight and making weight. For the most part, most of them do. Most of these guys are much bigger. Some of these guys go, they walk around 20, 30, 40 pounds above the weight, whatever they're trying to cut down to. You know what I'm saying? I remember hearing Spence and guys like at the welterweights, you got Spence who was walks around above 180. You had guys like Kell Brook as well. These guys were heavy guys walking around, cutting down. And, I think for Michel Rivera, look, man, maybe you're better at 140. If you're going through this much trouble to just lose a fight and lose almost every round against Frank Martin, I mean, you really couldn't give him more than 2 rounds. Um, you losing every round to Frank Martin getting dropped and everything. And I don't want to take anything away from Martin and just call it based it all on weight and lack of stamina and stuff like that. I don't want to take away the loss or take away what Frank Martin did, because Frank Martin outboxed him. He outboxed him. He outworked him. He outsmarted him, and he just was better. The problem with Michel Rivera, that is the main thing, is he didn't make any kind of adjustments. He's pretty much one dimensional, and that's what we learned in that fight. There was levels between the two. There was a big gap in talent between the two. Even though going into the fight, Frank Martin was a slight favorite, I thought the fight was going to be more competitive than it was. Frank Martin was very, very, like, much showing that he's world class and he's elite at 135, whereas Michel Rivera showed that he needs more work and more time. But maybe with that time and the work that he needs, maybe going up into 140 might be his best thing, because if he's having that much issues cutting down and weight, and where he has to resort to using illegal drugs in order to cut down and make the weight, maybe it's time for you to go to 140, because at least there, even though I think he needs to improve on his talent, I think that maybe being stronger at 140 would make him a better fighter up there, you know? It happens with a lot of people. You know, your Dennis. I said this about your Dennis Ogas. If you've been watching his older fights, you would see him losing to guys that were not as talented as some of the guys that he fought and beat. You know, at 147. But when he was at 140, he lost like 4 fights early in his career. You know, and when he moved to 147, he's beating better fighters at 147. He had a much better career at 147 because he's probably drained at 140, weaker, not as strong. Whereas 147, he has more pop. You know what I'm saying? He's bigger, he's stronger, and he was just more effective as a welterweight. So I think some of these guys, they're doing too much to try to cut down and have a size advantage or be on an even playing field as far as size. But sometimes you want to be at the weight class that's going to make you stronger, make you sit down on them punches, give you more energy and stamina to go fight longer for at a higher level for a longer period of time. All right. So he tested positive. As soon as I get an update, I'll let you guys know. Like I said, it's a temporary suspension. I don't know how much time they plan on really giving him, like off or whatever, but we'll see. All right. Sebastian Fundora is going to be returning. He's going to be fighting Brian Mendoza, and I believe this is going to be in April. I believe Sebastian Fundora is like a mandatory for one of Jamel Charlo's belts. I can't remember which one, but I think he's right up there to getting a managed by being Erickson Lubin. He should be right there. Now, Brian Mendoza, if you're not familiar with him, this is a fighter that just recently destroyed Jason Rosario, former unified champion Jason Rosario, who beat J Rock, Julian J Rock Williams, and became unified after J Rock beat Jesus, who's the big guy? Who's the big guy at 154 that beat Lara and Harrison and all of them? You guys know. I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, Mendoza came recently, destroyed Jason Rosario, and basically retired him. Right? In his last fight. These guys are going to fight each other in April. Should be a really good fight. Fundora's been on a run. He's still undefeated. He's the 6'5" fighter at 154. This should be a good scrap. You know, Mendoza's pretty solid, and it should be a good fight. You know, for the amount of time that it lasts, should be a good scrap. Also, we have Gilberto Ramirez against Gabe Rosado. I talked a little bit about this on my live commentary video I did the other day with Lee Wood and Mauricio Lara. I'm not a fan of this fight at all. You know, I understand that Zurdo is coming off a loss to Dimitri Bivol. I know he was outpointed. He's only won maybe 1 or 2 rounds in that fight. So I know he was dominated in the fight. I get it. But he wasn't stopped. He wasn't knocked out. He was thoroughly outboxed. And I don't think he needs to go resort down to fighting Gabe Rosado, at 175. You know, Gabe Rosado is a 160, 168 kind of guy. And, I know Gabe has been in there. I love Gabe. He's been my favorite. He's been my favorite gatekeeper in boxing for at least a decade. He at least for 10 years now, he's been my favorite. He's my favorite gatekeeper. But at this stage in his career, I don't know what much more he has to offer. And fighting Zurdo, I mean, I know Zurdo got outboxed by Bivol, but Bivol has just shown that he's a pound for pound fighter. There's nothing wrong with losing that kind of fight. It doesn't mean that you can't compete with the best at 175. So I think this is too much of a step down, and Gabe is coming off a few losses. And I mean, he beat Bektamir and it was cool. It was a crazy, crazy upset. I do think he beat Danny Jacobs in that fight. I think he edged it. But I don't think that fighting Zurdo at 175, I mean, Gabe is going to take it because he's getting paid to take it. But at the end of the day, as far as this fight being competitive, we know Zurdo is going to run through him. Gabe is not going to be able to win a round against Zurdo. And, Zurdo is still durable. Even with him getting beaten up by Bivol and stuff, he's still a very big, durable 175 pounder. He's one of the biggest fighters at 175. So why is he fighting Gabe Rosado there? I mean, I know, like, you got to take a step back. But this is too much of a step back, in my opinion. Too much of a step back, and I'm not a fan of the fight. All right, but that fight is going to be coming up next. Gabe is always going to have opportunities. Like I said, I think Gabe, before he retires, he'll fight, Edgar Berlanga within probably by the end of this year. I mean, these guys are going to always fight Gabe because he's got a name and he's a tough opponent and he's been in there with some of the best guys. But at this point, when you beat him, it's like, so what? So what? But Gabe is tough. We'll see how the fight goes. But Zurdo is going to destroy him, in my opinion. All right. Next bit of news: Junto Nakatani is going to be facing Andrew Moloney for the WBO title down at 115. Now that Kazuto Ioka vacated the title because now he's going to be doing a rematch with not Andrew Moloney. I was going to say Joshua Franco. Now, those two just had a unification at 115. Ioka was the WBO champ. Franco is the current WBA champ. And that fight ended up being a draw. A little controversial. I want to say highly controversial, but definitely controversial. It was a close fight. I wasn't mad at the draw. I can see if you got it for Franco. I think Franco might have won 7-5. I definitely don't think Ioka won. I think it was either a draw or Franco 7 rounds to 5. But they're going to run it back. And in order for them to do that, they had to vacate. Ioka had to vacate his title, his WBO title, because Junto Nakatani, who recently moved up, had one fight up at 115 since moving up from 112. He is going to be fighting Andrew Moloney instead, who had fought Joshua Franco. We know that Moloney and Franco had their trilogy where, Franco won the first fight, then Moloney kind of got screwed because they had to stop the fight because of the eye injury. And then they had the third fight where Franco beat him. So Moloney is definitely capable, but I think Junto is going to take him. And Junto, to me, was the more difficult scrap for Ioka. And I think that's part of the reason why Ioka is fighting. Let's be real, and Yoka's a great fighter. But I've been saying this for years. What's up with him fighting the other top guys at 115 all these years between, Rodriguez and Estrada and Quadras and all of these guys that face each other back and forth multiple times. Where was Ioka during all this? Where was he? He's a great fighter. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted him in the mix with all of these other guys. And him getting into these close scraps and debatable losses, questionable losses, controversial losses, or listen, that's cool, but there are so many fights that we wanted to see you in that we never got to see you in. And you get into a tough scrap with Franco. They give you a gift in many people's eyes. And now you're vacating your title. You're no longer champion, especially if you don't win this fight. You're no longer champion. Just a fight. I'm not saying the rematch is not warranted, but what I'm saying is I feel that Nakatani would be, and I know this is based on the eye test, but I feel like Nakatani is the more difficult fight to win. And instead of going into that difficult fight, he's going to one where he could kind of win. I think Nakatani was a more difficult fight. And he's vacated his title. It's a duck. You have a mandatory, you're ducking him to fight Franco again. Now I know people are complaining, and we said this about plenty of fights before, where there are fights that are really, really close, like Mayweather and Maidana. Mayweather, I think even at the time, Mayweather had a mandatory in Keith Thurman, but he fought Maidana. And then they ended up getting to one of Mayweather's toughest fights of his career, and he ends up running it back. You know why? Because people were screaming robbery. So that's what's going to happen. Enough people are saying, hey, this was unfair. This is fight. This guy was close. This should be a rematch. Now we're getting a rematch, but now one of the titles are now on the line. This is just a WBA title shot. And Nakatani is going to go for the WBO title, which I think he will win. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Broner, his fight with Mike Williams is done. All right. They're going to be pushing it up to April. Mike Williams has had some kind of jaw fracture. I don't even know if he's going to really be the opponent. Again, Mike Williams is the second replacement since Red Ivan Redcatch pulled out of the fight because he had promotional issues. At first, it was Ivan Redcatch. This is going to be on the BLK Prime platform pay-per-view. And Broner is supposed to be getting a lot of money for these 3-fight deal that he has. But this fight was supposed to be coming up this weekend, this Saturday. And Mike Williams now has pulled out. First, it was Ivan Redcash. Then it was Hank Lundy, who pulled out because he had a fight previously scheduled. And then he had a promoter issues as well because he already had signed for a fight that was prior to this one, and then now he pulled out because of that issue, and now Mike Williams was supposed to take the fight, and now he has a jaw fracture. So they're just pushing the whole thing up to April, and then you had Tevin Farmer and Mickey Bay that has been pushed up like 4 times already and rescheduled like 4 times. That fight was on the undercard, and now they're not having their fight. So this whole thing is a mess with BLK Prime right now. I'm not even sure if it's really their fault. People are coming out with their theories saying that something's not right with the money, and this is why they keep having issues. I just think that it's just is it really just a bad coincidence, or is it something deeper going on behind the scenes with all of these fighters and them pulling out? I think the main problem is the people that they're picking to fight Broner is just not at a time in their career where they can take this fight because they have issues going on, and they're doing such a job to cherry pick for Broner so it can be a competitive fight that he can win, that you're picking guys that are either not fully available, they have promotional issues, they don't have the confidence to win, or whatever. I don't know. Or it could be just all be a coincidence. If Mike Williams really fractured his jaw, I can't expect him to fight. But at the end of the day, this is just not really working for Broner right now, and he has to go into April now, and after training and cutting the weight, does he continue to stay active in the gym all the way up to April? I know he's not going to have a full camp, but is he going to at least stay in shape? Or is he going to go back to living a healthy lifestyle, put some of the weight back on just to cut it back off later in like March or April? You know what I'm saying? I don't really know, but to be honest, man, I do want Adrian Broner to get his stuff together and get back in it and make some money so he can take care of himself and his family. But at the end of the day, I'm not like, I don't like treating people like they're victims neither. You make your own decisions. You make decisions, and you either gonna be hungry and responsible and living a lifestyle where, a lot of things come with the lifestyle he lives, and you're not a victim. So I don't even say I feel bad for Broner. I want him to get himself together, but I don't want it more than he do. I shouldn't want it more than he does it. I feel like a lot of Adrian Broner fans, they want him to win so bad because I felt like at a point we felt like he was going to be the next Floyd. Like whatever we look at, a lot of up and coming guys, we looked at Broner like he was going to be the next big thing at one point. But we can't, as boxing fans, want it more than he does. He has to want it just that. He has to want it more than us. And he's had the opportunity. He's fought Mikey Garcia. He's fought Manny Pacquiao. He's fought plenty of big names in his career. But he just didn't live up to the hype. And part of it has to do with all the trouble he kept getting involved in outside of the ring. And with him having his mental health issues probably stems from the unhealthy lifestyle he was living. We can't just say mental health. We can't say mental health for everything. We have to also put some of that on the people that live a certain lifestyle and are very irresponsible, because you being an irresponsible person it causes you to have more stress because you're losing money, You getting in trouble with the law. You have to keep hiring lawyers. You having kids with different women. You have all this stuff that's coming out outside of the ring that just is just gonna stress you out. You have constant problems. I was just saying this about Tank and how he needs to change up his lifestyle. And I'm gonna go right into Tank right after this, and then I'm gonna cut this off. But yeah, the same thing with Tank Davis. Some guys like to fight under pressure. Sometimes like I think Broner and Tank guys like that like to have a lot of stuff going on and maybe pushes them and maybe motivates them. I don't know. There's some fighters that's just like that. Just athletes that's just like that. They have like a hostile lifestyle and it pushes them and motivates them to do what they're doing. But I don't think Broner is that guy right now. Like I think all of this is really wearing on him in a negative way and is making him not really get up for these fights like that. So I hope everything works out for him. I hope he can make his money out of this fight. I wish the best. I don't want nothing bad to happen to him. I don't wish anything bad to happen to him. But at the same time, I want people to go back to being held accountable for the poor decisions you make in life. And I just don't think there's enough people out there. There's always something to blame it on. Everybody wants to blame something on everything. Sometimes you just gotta hold accountability and be a little bit more responsible. All right. Let's talk about Tank and Ryan real quick before I check out of here. The latest news is that, I didn't speak on this yet, but Tank, he pled guilty for the hit and run from a couple years back. All right. I already spoke a lot on Tank this past couple months. All right. And my message for those that did not see those videos, because those videos are still up. My message for Tank is to get your shit together overall. Whatever happened, because I think people were battling online, talking about what was true about that domestic incident and what was not true. 911 calls and all that stuff. People uploading the calls. And listen, I told y'all this. I don't know what really happened in that house. I don't think we'll ever really know what really happened. I know there was some pictures that came out, some social media posts, the 911 calls. All right, I get that. I don't think we'll ever know what really happened that day. All right. I know what we saw at the basketball game, domestic thing that he had a couple years ago. We know about the hit and run that he now pleaded guilty for. He's going to be sentenced in May. I don't know what really happened and all that. All I'm saying is that all of this is not a coincidence. Again, like I'm saying about Broner, you're not a victim. You got to change it up. You got to change it up. The people you're dating, the women you're having children with, the friends that you're hanging around, the lifestyle you're living, if you're getting caught hitting runs, from what I read, I think I read in a report where it said that he did stop and check to see if like the people involved in the other vehicle was okay. But if you're driving away from the accident, what are you driving and leaving for? Are you leaving for out of panic, out of fear that you might get in trouble because you were in the wrong, or are you doing it because maybe you was drunk or something? I have no idea. All right. But all I know is that he pleaded guilty to it. And with that being said, I look at it like this. You just need to change your lifestyle, man. You living a wild life out here. A little too wild. You're getting into trouble. You need to change your lifestyle. Again, maybe he's not one of those type of guys. He had a hard coming up. I heard his story before plenty of times. He had it hard, really hard coming up in Baltimore. So I get it. But how long are we going to keep making that excuse? You had it hard coming up, but you made it out. You made it out and you made a lot of money. Now it seems like you're the guy that made a lot of money, but you're still living that same old lifestyle. Where Floyd was trying to protect you and bring you to Vegas to focus fully on boxing and to leave that lifestyle. You kept choosing to go back. Now you're rich, but you're still living the same lifestyle. And we got to understand that living a hard life, coming a hard life, a lot of us lived that hard life. A lot of us came from those areas. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people do, and when the other guys come up from a hard life, they don't choose to it's a choice. You want to live the criminal life or you want to live this life where, the street life. If you want to live that life, that's your choice. but you can't be a victim at the same time, because some people come up that same way or worse, and they make the decision to clean it up and prepare for their future for them and their families. They don't continue to make the same mistakes as they're rich. You're making all this money, but you're paying all these lawyer fees for all this bullshit. That shit's gonna add up. You could be much richer than you are. You keep getting caught up with the same people, and that's a problem with these people that like people that are around guys like Tank. I feel like a lot of them are just like really. I mean, some people can't. You just can't control because he's his own man at the end of the day, just like Broner was. But I said this about Broner years ago. Like, you gotta have a lot of yes men around you, because I don't know anybody that I care for. If they're living a life where I feel like, yo, I'm gonna be on you. If I see potential on you and I feel like you're messing up, I'm gonna stay on you. But if I feel like it's pointless, then I'm gonna have to wash my hands from it and be like, all right, you know what? I can't help you because you're just gonna do what you want to do. I don't care how successful I've been around. I've been cool with and close to some really, really successful people and people with a lot of money. I've been around that. I don't care if you have a poor judge of character. I don't care how famous you are. I don't know how much money you have. I don't know what you have. I don't care. I don't want to be around you, because I feel like you just make poor decisions. I want to be around that forever. Now if it's room for improvement and I can see the improvements, that's different, because everybody goes through those periods. But Tank just needs to get it together, man. And he's going to be sentenced in May, which leads to him being open to fight Ryan in April. They're trying to make the fight, I think, for April 15th or something like that. Um, do I think it's gonna happen? It's April 15th. Let me look it up. Yeah, April 15th is a Saturday. Do I think it's gonna happen? Like I told you from day one, I don't believe this fight is gonna happen. I never thought it was gonna happen this soon, but they're pushing it hard. They're saying that contracts are signed. They're saying all this stuff is agreed on. Give us something to make us believe that this is real. Because we have less than 8 weeks until that fight. Give us a presser. Give us something where we can see that they're really spending money on the fight. All I keep hearing and seeing is social media stuff, Twitter's, Instagram pictures. Give us something solid. Give us a press conference. Give us something to make us feel like you guys are investing into the fight. Give us something solid. Right now, everything is just talks and Twitter talks and stuff like that. They could have the fight. Well, I see Tank could just, I seen him the other day at the was it the Super Bowl, where he showed up in a wheelchair, and people started hitting me up on social media asking me what I felt about it. And I was like, I don't know. This could be just mind games. I don't know. Did he hurt himself? I don't think he did. But at the end of the day, like, yo, give us a presser. Give us something that's more real, that make us know that this fight is real. What network is it really going to be on? I know that they said it's going to be a Showtime pay per view. I know that they agreed on 136 pounds. I know there was an issue with a rematch clause or something like that. And the power, who's going to be in control of the rematch. I think there was an issue with Team Ryan because they felt that if they had won the fight, that they should be in control of the rematch. That's not always the case. All right, I just realized that when there are rematch clauses, there's a lot of times where the A side is still in control of even the rematch because of who they are and their name and what they've done as far as pay-per-view numbers and sales and all that stuff. So that's not always the case. Sometimes, yes, when there's neutral, you know, uh, big names involved in the fight, maybe the first fight, the bigger name is in control, and the second fight, the other name is in control. But that's not always the case. I don't care about all that stuff, man. I'm a boxing fan. I just want to see the fight. Give us the fight. All that extra stuff, all that other stuff is extra to me. Just give us the fight. Give us the fight. And that's all I really care about, But give us a presser. I mean, give us something. Like I said, I don't think the fight happens, but if it does, give us a presser. Give us something to make us think that the fight is really gonna happen. Even if we get a press conference, doesn't mean the fight's still gonna go down. But you know, it'll make me feel like they're really gonna have the fight. But as of right now, there's nothing that I've seen or heard that made me feel that this fight was gone. I know that these guys are great at marketing. And what I know about Oscar De La Hoya specifically is that when it comes to him and his fighters, he knows how to not only do great matchmaking for his fighters and protecting his fighters, calling out like Virgil Ortiz, for example, um, calling out Bud. You had content creators sitting here saying that Bud was avoiding Virgil Ortiz. This is right around when he beat Virgil Ortiz. Who did he beat? Uh, Hooker, Maurice Hooker. There was a lot of talks of Bud Crawford fight, and that Bud was avoiding him. And before you know it, you got guys like Boots and Virgil Ortiz that are both going to different sanctioning bodies, the Errol Spence Jr. route, where those titles are probably going to be vacated and not even have to fight Errol for those fights, for those belts. They're going a route, Virgil Ortiz was the WBO number one guy. Why is he going to fight Stanionis? And none of these people that make videos or make content on that stuff or fans, they never go back and apologize for when they're wrong or said something that's just not true. A lot of narratives are getting pushed about who's ducking, but no one is targeting Bud Crawford. Neither. None of them are targeting him and putting pressure on him to make a fight. I haven't seen it. I'm still waiting for that to happen. And Virgil Ortiz is going the WBA route now to fight Stanionis. When you have the opportunity to fight Crawford right now, you can petition to get that fight with the WBO. Why haven't you? After Sean Porter, there was no one else in the way of you getting that fight. So why aren't you taking that fight? You've said it yourself that you're looking to take out the older guys when they asked you about Boots Ennis. I remember all of those interviews. What happened? So Mark, when it comes to Oscar De La Hoya, I know he's great at pushing certain fights and talking about different names, but at the end of the day, he's using those names in order to boost up his fighter to fight someone else. He does it over and over again. So if the Tank Ryan fight falls apart, whoever's at fault for it, Ryan is already getting all the promo he needs for his next fight, whoever the opponent is going to be, even if it's not Tank. You know, um, and then we'll just sit here and argue about whose fault it is. I don't believe the fight is going to happen. But if it does, that's cool. Now, if the fight does happen, it's great because with Tank, win or lose, if he gets sentenced, if he goes to jail, if he actually does like 3 months or he does a little jail time, then at least he'll be fresh coming off of two 2023 fights and then doing a little bit of jail time right after. Or he won't be out the ring for too long. You know what I'm saying? Um, so that'll be good for him because he will be coming off of another fight with Ryan Garcia, win or lose. But if he doesn't take this fight and then he does a little jail time and stuff like that, it's not like he's gonna do a long time. But I mean, it's a good bag to make before you go in. And if you lose, I mean, if you win in devastating fashion, it might not even be a rematch. You know, these guys just might pass up on it. I'm thinking Tank. I'm still leaning towards Tank to win, simply because I think Ryan has a better opportunity of winning now. But I don't like him fighting at the catch weight. I said this from the very beginning. Ryan should not be coming back after 2 years to going down to 135. He's going to be weaker and fighting at 136. 136 is the actual weight. I think that's too far down. And I think that gives Tank a huge advantage there. Ryan needs to be strong. He's growing fast. He's going to be fighting in welterweight and 154, at least 154, if not 160 by the end of his career. Just coming back down to 135 or close to it, it's just too much. He's going to be weaker, and with Tank and his power and his ability, I mean, I was already leaning towards Tank, but him coming down in weight at 136, Tank is going to win to me if they are going to fight at 136. Yeah, at 140, it's a different conversation. I'm not sure, but at 136, I'm leaning towards Tank. All right, so that's my opinion, man. Thank you for guys for checking in. I am gonna do another wave report though, because there's so much more boxing news that I want to cover. But this is for Wave Report number 10. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Smash the like button. Share the video if you could on your social media platforms. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Boxingwave10. And I'll see you guys on the next one real soon. Peace.